Hey guys, what is up? This is Cody, or xCodeh. How's it going today? Hopefully everybody watching this video is having yourself a snazzy day. Let me know in the comments down below where you're watching the video from, inside or outside of the United States. I always love to know. Today's video is a topic that I've been asked to talk about for many years now. It's something that it's hard for me to have a solid opinion on because obviously I'm not a doctor. I'd like to preface this entire videos with just by saying that I'm not a medical professional. You should ask your doctor about anything medical related. I'm a YouTuber, all right? Don't take medical advice from a YouTuber, please. So today's video is about CHS, or Cannabis Hyperemesis Syndrome. Let's talk about it for a little bit, and then I'll give you guys my opinion on what I think about the whole thing in general towards the end of the video. I'd appreciate it if you guys would leave a like, alright? Helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow. Thanks. Do it. I'm reading this off of my.clevelandclinic.org. Cannabis Hyperemesis Syndrome, or CHS, is a condition caused by long-term cannabis or marijuana use. Whoa. People who have CHS experience reoccurring episodes of nausea, vomiting, dehydration, and abdominal pain, with frequent visits to the emergency room. Hyperemesis means severe vomiting. Another name of CHS is Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome. Cannabinoids are compounds found in the cannabis plant that bind to cannabinoid receptors found in our brains, gastrointestinal tracts, and immune cells. The most studied exogenous cannabinoids are tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, cannabinol CBD, and cannabigerol CBG. I've never said that one before. Basically, THC, CBD, CBG are the main components in weed. There's a bunch of other cannabinoids and terpenes, and that's another topic, but those are the main three. People who use cannabis chronically are at risk of developing CHS. It tends to occur in people who use cannabis at least once a week, and occurs more often in adults who have been using cannabis in their adolescent years. So basically, you started when you were a teenager like me. Alright. Typically, there is a delay of several years in the onset of symptoms preceded by chronic marijuana misuse in nearly all cases. Only a small portion of people who regularly use cannabis develop CHS because CHS is a newly discovered condition. Many people have it and not report it, or are misdiagnosed. One study found up to 6% of people who visited the emergency room for vomiting had CHS. Here's where it gets a little sketchy. Experts don't know exactly what causes cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Some researchers suspect genetics may play a role. Others believe CHS may occur due to overstimulation of your endocannabinoid system, or ECS. The ECS is a network of receptors in your body that respond to compounds in cannabis. The primary symptoms of CHS are intense and persistent nausea and vomiting. People with this condition vomit extensively, often without warning, and can vomit up to 5 times per hour. They may also experience diffused abdominal pain, often report weight loss and appeared dehydration. People with CHS self-learn to take hot showers, which help reduce or curb some of the nausea they experience. Many people with CHS will compulsively shower or bathe, often for hours every day, to relieve cannabis hyperemesis syndrome symptoms. There are 3 phases of cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Slightly different symptoms occur in each stage. The predominal phase. This phase is often in adults who have used cannabis since they were teenagers. You might have abdominal pain or morning nausea. You may also fear throwing up but never actually vomit. Hyperemetic phase usually lasts 24 to 48 hours. People in this phase have overwhelming, reoccurring vomiting and nausea. They may compulsively take baths or avoid certain foods or purposely restrict your food intake. And then the recovery phase. During recovery, people stop using cannabis, even in small amounts. When you are in the recovery phase, symptoms lessen over a few days or months, and eventually disappear. Now, if you're definitely vomiting over and over again, extended periods of time, you're going to want to go to the doctor anyways, because it could be something else. It couldn't only just be this. Obviously, that's a sign of something's wrong, something's up. How to prevent cannabis hyperemesis syndrome? The only way to prevent the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome is to avoid cannabis. Well, that sucks. I would just like to put this in the video. If any of you guys are suffering with this, you're going to definitely want to seek medical attention as soon as possible. If you have any of these symptoms after getting really sick after smoking, dark or very little urine, delirium, which is sudden confusion, like you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are, you just don't know what the hell is going on, dizziness, fatigue, or unexplained sleepiness. Fatigue is kind of like hard to say because you could just be tired one day, but if you're like you can't get out of bed tired, I think that's what they're saying. Quickened heart rate, that's also another tough one. I mean, maybe if you're not smoking at all and you just have a crazy rapid rapid heart rate, probably go, definitely. And then fainting. So obviously that would definitely be a cause for concern if you're just fucking fainting out like a light. To answer your question, you're probably wondering, do I have CHS? I don't know. I really don't know. I've been regretting I've been putting this video off for a very long time because I've always tried to tell myself that I don't have it. I've always tried to tell myself that weed affects everybody differently. And that's also something I'd want to say in this video. They also said in the video that genetics play a toll in it. Drugs affect every single person differently. Every single person. Some people can take 5,000 milligrams of edibles, smoke an ounce a day, and be completely fine, and then another person smoke a couple hits off a bowl and start puking. I've seen it firsthand with some of my friends in high school. I always kind of didn't want to make this video because I'm kind of the person, whenever I see medical stuff, when you're like, you gotta, say you got leg pain or something, you go on Google like, hey, leg pain, you're dying of cancer. Like, that's always the first answer. So it always scared me to read up and to research about medical problems. Sounds like a one-way ticket of being an idiot and not being informed about medical stuff. But whenever I looked up anything to do with this, I always just would psych myself out. Every time I'd smoke after reading something like this, I'd be like, oh no, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna get sick. It's just, I'll never forget the first time someone told me about this. For like 2 or 3 weeks, I just couldn't enjoy weed. It's all I could think about. And I'd be lying to you if over the years I've never had discomfort in my stomach when I smoked, because honestly, 1 out of 10 times, probably 3 out of 10 times, I just start feeling nauseous, I get bloated, I just don't feel great. And I'm sure you're wondering, why don't I just stop? Listen, because I fucking love smoking weed, that's the problem. That's the problem these people have that end up with this CHS. They think that weed is going to help their nausea, so they keep chasing the feeling of, oh, I remember when I was younger when I'd smoke, I'd feel completely great after I smoke, and now I feel like shit, so let me smoke some weed, and it ends up making it worse. It's a really tough situation. It's a really tough topic. It's tough for me as a non-medical professional, once again, to really talk to you guys about it and give you anything that's more than an opinion. When CHS first surfaced on the internet, when it first was being talked about, I really, really believed truly in my heart that it was just like, I don't want to say propaganda, but I wanted to say it was around the time where weed was getting legalized everywhere. And maybe that also plays a part in people having more access to it, so it's happening more. But at the same time, I feel like weed is in every state. There's always someone you can buy weed from, but now it's easily accessible, so that also might play a part. But I always thought that it was either some government agency trying to scare people into not smoking. I always thought it was something like that because obviously when I was a kid in high school, they would teach us that weed will ruin your life. And when my parents' generation was in high school, they taught everybody that it was as bad as heroin and it was fucking couple hits, you're gonna turn into a killer or something. Like, you ever watch the Reefer Madness movie? That movie's fucking hilarious, man. Very, very overdramatic of any type of situation smoking weed. That movie is just absurd. And also, when I did some research when it originally popped up on the internet, people were putting in my comments, talk about this, I also saw that there was people thinking that, I think it was neem oil. It's something that we've just recently, in the past 20 years, I believe, listen, I'm not a fucking botanist or a grower, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe that we've just started using it during the growing process of cannabis, and there's a lot of people that think that alone can cause CHS, but I feel like it would have been mentioned in this clevelandclinic.org. But then again, if it's just, some government agency trying to scare us, then why would they put the solution in the research? But another thing that always got to me is because cannabis, marijuana, listen, that sticky, icky, sacred skunk is in the category of Schedule 1. So there can't actually be any real medical studies on weed. They've only done the studies on the effects of CHS. It even says directly in here, experts don't exactly know what causes cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. And I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just a topic video with opinions. That's all it is. Please don't take my word for it, all right? This is just me talking about it because people requested me to. And honestly, it does interest me. It really does interest me because I know someone's sister who pretty much has it. Every time they smoke, they're just vomiting for non-stop, and they continue to smoke because they really like it, and like it's just a problem. They've gone to the emergency room a bunch of times because they just can't stop puking. It seems like a really big problem to them. But at the same time, they're also mixing it with tobacco. There's a lot of variables. There's so many variables to this. I know damn well when I'd roll spliffs in high school or smoke a cigarette right after getting super baked, it'd fuck with my stomach. It'd make me all dizzy. It'd make me feel like I was nauseous. Realistically, I just needed some water and to lay down. But I truly don't know if this is something I have. The one thing, this is something I read here and made me actually a little shivered in my boots. The predominal phase. The phase that is most common in adults who have been using cannabis since they were teenagers. I've been smoking weed since I was like 13, maybe even 12. I don't know. I think it was 8th grade summer, and I was put into school a year early, so I could have been 12 or 13. Probably 13 though. I really got into it heavy when I was about 14 to 16. That was when I really started smoking. You may have abdominal pain or morning nausea. You may also fear throwing up, but never actually vomit. That is the part that really hits home with me. Personally, I've never really talked about this in a video, and whenever I actually manage to get around to making the Draw My Lifestyle video, I'll get more into it, but truthfully, I'm afraid of throwing up. It's definitely something I've dealt with my entire life. It's not fun. It's a common phobia. It's a common thing. Believe it or not, it is one of the most common phobias. It's never fun. No one likes it. I know that if it happened to me, it'd be okay. I get it. But that phobia started long before I smoked weed. That was when I was a child and in middle school before I smoked. It was actually when I lived in another town over, and then I moved back to my hometown, and that's when I started smoking weed. The kids in my other town, I'm sure glad I didn't stay there because they went on to harder drugs than weed. Some of them even died, man. It sucks. So maybe I'm on the predominal phase of CHS. I really sure fucking hope not, because I don't want to stop smoking weed. The light at the end of the tunnel. Is there even a light at the end of the tunnel? The bottom of this says, even if you stop smoking for a long time, it comes back, even when the moment you try it again. That is really the part that I think might not be 100% accurate. I mean, I don't know how many people they've taken in for this study. It doesn't specifically say of how many people were confirmed had CHS, stopped smoking for a couple months, and then smoked again and had all their symptoms come back. I'd love to know any of you in the comments that have had this, because I've gotten a ton of comments over the years talking about, oh, I had CHS, I can't smoke anymore, but I still love watching your videos. Thanks, by the way. I appreciate every one of you guys that watches the videos, man. I'm very grateful to be in this position. I love making videos. I'm not going to say who said this because they actually took down the video. So I don't know if what they were saying was bullshit. I don't know if because this person is, I don't know if it's because this person has lots of clout. And then if you have such a big audience and you start saying medical stuff, you can get sued because you're not a doctor. It's just like the crypto YouTubers that start off the video by saying not financial advice, because if they didn't, they'd get arrested. I think it's actually a felony to do that. So before I continue, once again, not medical advice, but I saw a video talking about how CHS can be lessened or possibly prevented if you take at least a 12-day break from smoking. 12 to 14 days is optimal. So when you repeatedly use cannabis, the CB receptors, the cannabinoid receptors in your brain basically get overloaded. And that is what can cause CHS, or what people believe can cause CHS. The overstimulation of a part of your brain that weed goes to, essentially. And if you give it a break, if you give it that 14-day break, 2-week break, 1-month break, it should lessen the symptoms. It should help prevent CHS, from what the post was saying, not from me, okay? This is just from that video that I saw that kind of gave me a little bit more of a positive outlook on it. It made me take a 2-week break. I took a 2-week break, and I thought I had a really beneficial effect from taking the 2-week break. I think everybody watching this video should take tolerance breaks. I mean, you could call it that if you want. Just stop smoking weed for a month, man. It's not that hard. You're not going to be itching at your neck, shitting your brains out in the shower like if you were withdrawing from opiates or something. It's not that intense, okay? You're just going to get irritable. It's going to be harder to eat for a couple days, and sleep might not be the greatest, or it might be harder to go to sleep. Take a melatonin. It's all natural, all right? Listen, not medical advice, all right? Ask your doctor first. This is a really tough topic for me to have conversation on because, like I said, I'm waiting for the day. Big Biden just said that they're going to try to reschedule cannabis. I think all that whole speech about weed was bullshit. I'm going to make a whole video talking about that. But listen, the president of the United States said that they're going to work towards rescheduling cannabis. And as long as it's not Schedule 1, there can be literal medical research on it, which I've been waiting for since I started smoking weed because I've always wanted to know what the medical benefits are, all right? You see all these stories of people saying that they took an insane amount of THC and it helped with their cancer, the tumors were shrinking. I don't know if that's accurate. It could have been a fluke. But hell, if that's true, why the fuck aren't we researching that? Why the hell aren't we fucking harnessing exactly why that happens and give it to people with cancer? So I don't know if it's true. I don't know if that's true. I'm not one of those people that think cannabis is the cure-all for all your problems. I've never been like that. I honestly think it can make your problems worse. I think smoking weed, when you get paranoid, when you get like too high and you're just in your head and overthinking, it's just the weed trying to show you something that you need to think about. It's a problem, it's a burden in your life, a hurdle that you need to get over, that your brain is just hyper-focusing on. It gives you this sense, this mindset of being able to, it basically forces you to think about the bad things in your life, which isn't every time you smoke. You know, obviously, you want to smoke weed, giggle, eat a bunch of Doritos and pass out. Listen, that's the optimal experience when you're smoking bud. Sometimes it just hits different. Sometimes you take a hit, you're like, oh my God, dude, I got all these problems. I got all these things to worry about. And I think we've all been there, man. So I truthfully hope I don't have this. I really hope I don't, because sometimes when I smoke, it fucks with my stomach. Especially when I eat a bunch of food, it's late at night, and I smoke weed and then try to lay down and go to sleep. It's not fun. It's definitely not fun. I've learned that lesson the hard way a bunch of times because it sucks. It definitely sucks. I would like to say in this video though, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, I have never actually greened out from smoking weed. I've been very close many times in my life over the course of I'm so old, over the almost 15 years that I've smoked weed. And I actually have acid reflux, which also plays a part in this. That's always what I've thought was a huge factor in this, because obviously smoking anything exacerbates acid reflux. It's not a good idea, honestly. I mean, I take medicine for it every day, so hopefully that helps, all right? Listen. And the reason I always was so hesitant to believe that I had it myself was because I had stomach problems before I smoked weed, man. Long before I smoked weed. Ever since I was a kid, ever since I was in middle school. And really the bottom line of this is it's definitely healthy for your mental, for your physical. It's definitely healthy to take breaks from weed. I know that seems near impossible to some of you guys out there, but I promise you it is, okay? I promise you it is. My number one bit of advice to you if you're trying to quit smoking for a little bit is to not hang out with your buddies that are smoking all day, every day, doing nothing but. That's probably the best bit of advice anybody could give you for that. And also, if you're suffering with this CHS syndrome, I guess hot baths and hot showers can help alleviate the problem. And also, there's a couple other things like capsaicin cream, I guess. You can rub that on your stomach. But if you're at that point, maybe weed just isn't for you. You know, that is like the darkness at the end of the tunnel. If this is happening to you, if you're smoking weed and vomiting profusely to the point where you're dehydrated and have to go to the hospital and get fucking IV drip hydration into your body, it probably isn't worth it, right? The one thing I could probably say is to maybe stop getting weed from your plug and maybe get it from a dispensary. And I know that's not an option for everybody watching, but for the people who it is, give that a try. All right. Maybe it is the neem oil in the weed that people are growing. Maybe it's that. Who the fuck knows? Until weed is out of Schedule 1, I don't think we'll know. Which is unfortunate. It is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that weed is scheduled a higher tier than fentanyl. That is just the most backward ass 1960s fucking thing I could ever think about, man. So yeah, take breaks. Maybe that'll help. All right, until we have more information on this is all I got, to be honest with you. I wanted to go over it, give my opinion, give you a little insight on my life, slightly, you know. It's never fun to be getting sick, dude. It really is never fun. And I really hope none of you guys are suffering with this. Please let me know in the comments if you are, what helps you, if taking breaks even helps. Because I've heard of people taking 3-month breaks and then going back to it and getting the same damn symptoms. I really hope I don't turn into one of these people, you know, one of the people that have it, because that would be a detriment to my fucking videos and stuff, and we'll figure it out, all right? Listen. Really, the problem with me, like I said, it's only like 3 out of 10 times that I even have an issue. Believe it or not, I know this is definitely not advice you should ever take while taking any type of drug, but whenever I have an empty stomach, completely no food in there, I could smoke an ounce of weed. It honestly half affects me. It's almost like weed light. Like, I'll get high, but then it won't last that long because I'm hungry as fuck. It almost cancels it out. It's only when I have a ton of food in my stomach and then smoke. Maybe it's because I have a fear of throwing up and I'm like, oh geez, I got all this food in my stomach, I'm about to get sick. Maybe that's just it, all right? Maybe it's not the CHS. Maybe it's just my phobia and overthinking, OCD. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? That's the one thing that's ever made me think that I don't have it, is because I could smoke weed on an empty stomach and be completely fine, have a great time, walk around with my friends, I can have a splendid old time. It's just whenever I smoke right after I eat, which is one of the best times to smoke. It's going to confuse a lot of you guys, like that after spaghetti blunt is just exquisite. And I believe that weed is actually supposed to help aid digestion, so a lot of people use it for that. It's a really, really tricky topic. I'd love to know what your opinion is in the comments down below. Like I said, let me know if any of you guys are suffering with this and what helps you and if taking breaks helps you, because I'm honestly interested. I know this wasn't one of my normal videos talking about a crazy story or something, but I hope you guys got some information. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like on it if you guys did. Huge thank you to everybody supporting me on Patreon. I'll put a list of all the names on screen right now. Go check out my Patreon page. For $1 or $2 a month, you can support the channel and get access to the secret unlisted smoking videos that I make over there. Ton of fun making those. I love making them, and huge support to everybody on screen. It really helps me out. I got some really good news coming to you guys in the near future. I'll make a whole video about that though, so stay tuned. Feels good to finally talk about this topic, man. I've really been putting it off for years now because I always just assumed, or I always just wanted to believe that it was just bullshit. I really wanted to believe it was just that government propaganda, man. Because it's just so hard for me to believe such a magical, incredible plant to cause so much pain and misery. But hey, man, hey, like I said in the beginning of the video, not a doctor, not medical advice. I need to make a fucking merch shirt, not a doctor. I just always wanted to not believe it. Drugs affect everybody differently. Every single person. Everybody's brain is unique. Think about that. There's 6-7 billion people in this world. Every single person's got a different brain. It's all different. The synapses connect, fire off. Electricity, it's all different. That's why one person can smoke a joint and just act completely normal. Another person will smoke a joint and be like, it would be really cool if we could dial down exactly what causes it and maybe take that out of cannabis. You know what I mean? If that really is the case, that'd be sweet. But if it's just literally the THC in weed, then we're fucked. All right, that's just game over. All right, but luckily this doesn't happen to the mass majority of people who smoke weed every day, though. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. I would like to say that in this video. I know so many old heads that have been smoking 3 to 5 joints every day for 40 years. Never had this problem. So really it just comes up to character creation and luck and the genetics of your body, all right? The man upstairs told you could smoke weed or you can't smoke weed. That really just what it comes down to, I guess, from the information we have at this point. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you got a little information. I hope it didn't scare you into never smoking again. Because like I said, it's kind of rare, this CHS thing, but there's people out there struggling with it. So I wanted to talk about it. Thank you for spending the time out of your day to watch my video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Stay high, stay lifted, and stay snazzy.